Hey, what's going on, everyone? Eric Rosen here for your Viking Rising energy update for April 24th through the 30th, 2022. Thanks for being here. I have been through quite the whirlwind the past 24 hours, as I'm sure all of us have, as I'm recording this on April 23rd. I just had a book launch with 40 plus other amazing authors. It's called Shift with Intention and Soar, a guide to manifesting your best life. Now, I don't know that I'm the best expert on manifesting yet, but I will say that my chapter that I entered into this book was highly unique and creative and demonstrated how I was able to make a shift in my life to manifest a better reality really within 6 months. I basically went from being homeless to being a best-selling author, having men's groups, and also becoming a full-time astrologer with my schedule becoming more full. So these things are all still building, but that's the type of quick turnaround that can happen when you shift your life with a specific intention, when you're willing to accept that you're going too fast or going in the wrong direction. So this is a collection of 40 plus authors that basically talks about where they made a shift in their life to take it in a different direction or a different speed. And I think it's something that we could all benefit from, because we've all been a little bit indoctrinated by our culture to live pretty fast and to live freely in the ego, when sometimes what we really deeply want is to have the things that God wants us to have, which is really what the unconditioned self wanted too before we developed the conditioned ego, deciding what we wanted to keep ourselves from getting hurt again, which leads me to this week's channeling, which is kind of about the willingness to know that you're not going to be hurt anymore. And then it's okay to slow down, that it's okay to let the wild card energy of the universe essentially play out. This is a week to definitely not stress. To not stress about anything, to not stress about your choices, to not stress about where the future is going, to really open up to a deeper sense of yourself, of receiving from the universe. And did I mention not stressing about how to receive or what energy that you need to embody in order to do that? This is kind of a glow up week for all of us to really paint with the universe, to move into that light, to move into that energy, to move out of any areas in our life where it feels like the button to turn the light up got stuck in those areas. And so this is about rounding out this full moon in Libra that we just had of alignment and balance and harmony. And so it's any place where it feels like you haven't been giving attention to, give attention to those areas and look at it in a different way. It's usually it's when we're trying to force something to work that it won't. And the universe is oftentimes teaching us that it will work when we call in support, when we call in help, and when we surrender to not only the power within us, but the power to call in those forces for assistance. And so I know for me, this is doing some healing work for sure. We're building into a solar eclipse at the end of the week in Taurus. And so this is all about the highest quality self-worth versions of yourself and relationships, and being okay with letting go of relationships that aren't there anymore. It's just like when the nurse nonchalantly scrapes the poo off the table when the woman's giving birth. Taurus is this creation energy. And so it's don't, feel bad that people not existing in your reality is crud at this point, because it's not that they're crud, it's just they're crud for your reality because of the choices that you made or the choices that they made. And ultimately, I think a lot of this week too, when it comes to receiving, when it comes into coalescing with this tribe, is to open the heart up to express what it is that you really want in your life, to know that you're worthy of it, to self-actualize truly in that, and know that it can truly come in. Pretty straightforward week, to be honest. Because once you separate the wild energy and let the universe just play that out, and you know your worth, know your value of what it is that you want, and it's coming from a positive place and no longer coming from a place of ego vendetta of trying to build something to source from this place of your ego wounds, that's when you're in tandem, with like what that wild card energy is. And so you don't have to worry about try to control the belief structure or control anything going on out in the world. It becomes more just about your own creation of yourself and what you're creating as well, but especially like the harmony and the creation of yourself, because it's like when we feel fulfilled in ourselves, that's when the creation's magnetized. And so we don't need to worry about our plans going to work, what's going to happen, because that's where we're surrendering that control to this universal energy to play out the wild card and to like realize that while the cards are getting shuffled, doled out, they've already been shuffled really, they're just going to kind of get doled out this week, that you're the ace, that you're one of the aces. And so, I would say choose red, choose a red colored ace. Like the ace of hearts would be honestly the best one, because that's your emotional fulfillment. That's going to be where you build from a place of not stress, of not trying to go into the old paradigms of trying to create from the ego, whatever wounds that we have. I hope this is making sense, because I mean, the thing is like there's going to be another set of people that, hasn't looked at these wounds. And so it's like, they're like, no, God, like I want the cards. I want to be the dealer. And it's like, you can't even hold God's cards. They're like too big and magnificent. But it's like, you're more like getting to speak like what you want your hand to be. And so it's more about like what you believe in, about like what it is that you're going to get and what you're going to receive. So if we're still speaking from a place of wound, speaking from a place of ego, what we want, then God's kind of like, I got this card up my sleeve, this other ace up my sleeve for you, but I'm going to give you a similar hand to what you've been getting until you like learn the lesson to kind of like let go of these old energies, and to see that it all has a way of like working out, but we can't keep like overthinking it and going back and forth on what we want, how to get there. Like a lot of the how and the what, if we're not clear on that, that can kind of like fog our vision of the cards that we have in our hand, and then we don't know how to play them. So we need to see clearly that the wounds are fading, that old stuff is fading. And so we can use things like dance, intentional dance, drink a glass of water, eat a banana, eat some fruit, to shift the vibration and to go back into the heart space, to go back into the heart center, so that we can see clearly again. It's like knowing that it's a long card game, that you don't have to sit at the table and like hold your breath and try to force yourself into like figuring out like how to like, win the game. It's like, it's okay to step away to the refrigerator. It's okay to like get some, sunlight, even though that's a weird thing too. It can sometimes feel like the sun's not out when it is. And that's just like where we're in like reptilian energy of like fear of like, again, the how, and like maybe sometimes the what of what we want. So continuing to come from an emotional place is going to be beneficial, but it's really grounding into the body to feel those emotions, and not so much trying to like invoke them. It's more just about the simple sensual clarity of like, this is what I want to have happen, and stop trying to like worry and control like so much of it. Remember, this is a Taurus eclipse we're headed into. This is Sun in Taurus, this is Mercury in Taurus. Like, this is where it's more simple in the pleasures, and the only complexity that we can sometimes like put to it is if we want to pull ourselves out of a project that has potential because we're not feeling our value, and we get ungrounded and we feel unsafe to like receive it. So this is like where so much of it's like knowing about your value, and to not blow your proverbial load on things that are like low quality because of the impatience of not being able to like wait for the good things to come in. And I know that can be hard for some people, because it's like we want to feel good, but how do we do it? Well, I think quite simply, it's a lot of just like seeing where the thoughts are going, because the thoughts really are are they going for like the higher quality, or are they going for the lower quality? And so like the momentum will build right now with our thoughts, with our thinking. And it's only in those moments that we're willing to slow down, because the Taurus bull, like, that's the thing, it takes a while to like gain momentum, but it can also take a while to slow down and pivot. It doesn't like to pivot, it likes to remain fixed on things. So notice this week when you're staying in like low quality doldrum type energy longer than necessary, and notice like where's the nuclear bomb sort of like going off, sort of sabotaging, nuking like the high quality things that you want, where you fall into the small self, and like always see like what that pattern, that block is, because then that's the unhealed portion where we're either speaking it intentionally or unconsciously, like calling something in like from the ego. Because sometimes we think, oh well, the ego just only wants like something good that it thinks that it wants, but the ego will also call in negative things too, to like stay trapped, to continue an old story, an old paradigm, an old just identity. And we don't need to do that anymore. This is about opening up to receiving connection, love, less stress, financial abundance. This is about opening up to seeing too, where like even like chasing money like a little bit, it's like, what if money was always chasing you all along, but like the story that we have about money is like pushing it away, and so it's allowing it to come in. And so how do you do that? Like, how do you break that down? A lot of it's just finding peace. It's finding peace within the self, because like, think about it. Imagine a cashier trying to hand you back your money, like your change, or imagine going to the bank, but you're like, little 2-year-old like running around screaming its head off about how it's got all these fears and stuff, and trying to like tell everybody. And the bank teller is just kind of like, hey, I'm just like trying to let you know, like, things are good. You got a lot in your bank account. I'm trying to like give you the resources, but like you got to like calm down and like stay grounded and stay steadfast and stay present in your body, stay stable in order to receive it. Because we're going to need that currency, that value within ourselves, and however that reflects like outer resource wise, like externally, in order to really generate the true physical manifestation of the wealth of like what we really are, and like the worth that we put in. So this is about really stepping out of the 3D matrix jail at this point, and seeing like, don't be like the person that's like, well, I think maybe that door to the jail cell's unlocked, but I'm more comfy on my like fucking dirt covered cot in the jail cell, and I'm not even gonna go try the door, because then I gotta go out, and like all I have is slippers, and I know there's a hill to climb, and I don't have the right footing. And it's kind of like, I mean, you can climb it barefoot, but you might get cuts. Maybe you just like do it in your socks. Maybe you just like do it in a way that like you do it with the slippers. Maybe like you go out there and you see that, oh, this thing that I thought was a hill, yeah, I had to climb up, and I had to like grab some grass to hoist me up because it was kind of steep, and I was like, the grass is going to rip, but then the grass didn't rip. And it's like God was giving us a stronger hold mentally than what we thought all along, to kind of like get over the hump, to see the beautiful horizon of like what's actually in the world, and the abundance, and the city, and the lights, and like the divine orchestration of things, of like that there is people out there, that there is connection. And it's like, even if the lights go out in this city, let's say we lose power and connection in the world of like our communication systems. I'm speaking more physically, communication systems and the power grid. We've been having crazy solar flares. Like, there's a lot of unpredictable energies that can come in, and it's like, even if that goes out, it's like, oh, okay, well, like, now you really have to know how to magnetize in your manifestation energy, to like know how to like go to the people that you're meant to be with. And we're all getting magnetized towards those people already. So right now it's just our job to just really be like, wow, like I did that, like I'm creating that. And so this is a week to not feel shame. This is a week to not feel shame about the past or anything or any stories because shame says you're guilty, you're worthless, you need punishment. It's again convincing arguments that are like ghost energies to stay in the jail cell, to like believe in some, bullshit narrative. And it's like, see the higher perspective that we are here to connect with one another, that we are here to dance in the reverence of like what the universe is. And I know that can feel hard because like, what about the 3D, and what about my plans, and what about like where I'm going, and like all these different things. And it's like, it becomes so much simpler like when you just like let it go and like remember like these higher dimensional aspects of things, and don't try to like search outside like the sphere of this. And so staying in the sphere is a lot about just like knowing your worth, and knowing like your value, and knowing like yourself like in this like real identity, and to not like plagiarize like your identity, and to not try to like go back into the 3D. It would be like, I'm going to go back into the Matrix and I'm going to be this character, but then you're not even like up on the ship. You're just like, that you're in the Matrix, and then you're just pretending like you have the ability to pull yourself out, but you're just like in the Matrix. Like it's like an unawakened person pretending to be woke, and then you're not, to like fit in. It's chaos, it produces chaos. And so the peace that comes from within is like, what's the real truth? Embody that truth, embody that world now, because that's the real world that exists. And it's like, don't wait for other people to catch up. Don't wait for, other people to try to understand you, for where you're coming from. Just like be in that energy, because it's always going to be the thing that you come back to the continuous conclusion to, but want to avoid about the truth about yourself, that is going to be paying dividends from the cashier more than you can imagine, but in many different ways. When you get out of the anxiety, you get out of the stress of trying to like reach and connect for that as if it exists somewhere like outside of you, like you already are it. And so a lot of this is just embodiment week. Embodiment, magnetize, not reaching for things, not trying to force a shift to happen in your life, but more to like allow the shift to happen. I love you all. I hope you guys have a great week. And if you have any questions, first ask yourselves, and then, only then, consider asking a friend for their insight, because ultimately your questions are for you to take into your solar plexus of your own intuitive center, beyond any ghost energy, and to sit with those things and feel the fulfillment, and don't feel like you need an answer to get to some place that you already are the answer. I love you all. Take care.